Hello and welcome. Today's date, that comes in that of Thursday, the 23rd day of January, 2020. My name is Derek. Like always, all bets trades. Other like, that's within each's own risk and their own reward. In this video, a very quick look at the Dow Industrials, and also later on I'm going to talk about fantasy football, but more in particular the Super Bowl. And if you're familiar with DraftKings, they have Millionaire Makers $10 a game where first place wins $1 million. And if you're very interested in playing that, I got a lot of content that I made in the past and I want to talk about, but that'll be at the end after the charts are done. And also reflecting on a lot of the older videos, just to find the information within fantasy football. I'm looking at some old ones, so I want to go over them. And the ones I'm talking about will be, that's not it. Yeah, these would be just, I want to reflect on these videos here. So then let's get this going. And I've been talking about the Dow before, mainly in particular. We had this level of resistance as we're looking at this on the weekly as it comes up to it. And then we have the dot-com bubble, which is what they call it anyway. It was just establishing a level of support, retesting high, resisting it, and then failing on the support, but this failed breakdown, which was the 2008 crash. Then, of course, we have the Great Recovery of 2009 and all the inflation of currency added to the system. But that's, I was going to say that's neither here nor there, but no, it is here. Anyway, let's forget that part. So resisting it again, high or low. So we can call this like inverted head and shoulders type material. There we have the breakout of this point in here, another high or low, matching high, another high or low. And in this one, it has now just been making the trend. And when you break a key level resistance, concise move to next level. And it looks like that's what it's doing, as I kind of would expect, as it's similar to what we were seeing before. As far as silver is concerned, on the weekly term, I got the Fibonacci lines regarding the low and the high. This is a 38.2 and 61.8% correction, although it didn't go down towards it. As it goes, the 5 consecutive weeks up, starting in December, and still correcting within it, as we can see. But is this an uptrend, downtrend, sideways? Well, it's most certainly like chopping up and down. We're correcting sideways after an up move that has relatively been very choppy when looking at it on any of these longer term time frames, like weekly charts and so on. It is showing a lot of these lower lows on the daily term, as we made this one on January the 9th, and then again on the 14th. And now for these really 3 days here this week, January 21st, and then today piercing below that low as well. And second day in a row showing weakness or just holding on the 18, just staying in within this level of support again on the 14th and 15th of January, because when it came up to this 18's rising, then it's flat, so it resisted for the first time, and if it's looking like it is, it's probably going to come down. And I would think you look at the 1740 level, it's a decent sized leg lower from this, nothing too small or large. And even coming down, piercing below into like the 17 like low change and coming to this area where we came from would be a 61-ish, well, it is a 61.8 style correction. And it can still make that higher low, and it's something that happens oftentimes in bullish situations. It doesn't have to happen, but it is looking more probable that it might be the case. However, when you look at gold, things look a little different. So we're going to have to take a look at the ratio, because you're going to, the ratio is going up when gold looks like this on the daily. So we're seeing like, a little bit of weakness on silver there on the 18. Story here is it's just barely came back to where it came from on the daily. We've been having a lot of time with this still rising, albeit not as large, and starting to flatten out. At least the 18 average of highs is, and if it's not able to really start making new highs above 1568, then it will flatten. 18 average of lows hasn't been touched literally since maybe even like December 9th or 10th. It's pretty close on the 13th, and not even close since is January 14, and of course silver, of course, showing going below its lows and everything. But if this goes up, breaks out above, then we could be seeing good sized green candles. If that's the case, then is silver going to look bearish? Probably not, but we could be seeing what could be a rise in the gold to silver ratio on a bullish level. We've been seeing a lot of that type of stuff through 2019 as well. And as it goes within it, this the level that I've been talking about for quite some time at 15 and a quarter, which was resisted through the second half of last year, barely having any price, if any, correction at all. And just like silver, there's a bunch of lower lows, and then it changes. It goes up. Markets go up, markets go down, and that's should be expected, especially when I look at stuff like precious metals. I pretty much I'm confident on its destination of the value and its how good it is of a investment moving forward, but its journey on its way there and its movements this year and this month and that month most certainly, well, it's going to do its things, and whatever it's going to do obviously. In saying that, that means obvious. Okay, I want to say that word over again, but accumulation, I'll just wait for the moments when it's a good time to distribute them based on, of course, price action, your situation, and accumulation, same thing as well. You get good price corrections. And of course, if you're looking to find ways of trading within these markets in one form or another, there's obviously opportunities. Myself, I'm looking more to trade towards in the cryptos, and we'll get into that in a little bit. But before we do that, let's just take a look at gold on the weekly, because this is where it gets very, very interesting, because there's all that resistance at that key fib for several weeks, and several weeks again just supporting and staying in this little area, but it never does break down at this time. Consecutive weeks higher, and it's going sideways. 18 starting to rise above the level of this key resistance. This thing looks poised, I think, for some interesting moves. So the ratio, then we'll go to cryptos. And on the weekly here, there was the last high, which was placed from the summer. It hasn't corrected much. We got this key low from 20 at the 31, from basically the 2011 lows. So a long series of higher lows and higher highs into 2016. But 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you can count a lot of higher lows. Then from the key one to this one has a much bigger one and more extended time below the 18. Even not that much extended, and not much empty space or filling that below, going down to about 65. So from that key low, what have we had? Well, a bunch more series is here. This one here, not as large as this one. And it was, as far as its volatility, it had the several days down in a row. And now on its recovery stage, it had a chance to break down in the October timeframe. It didn't do it. And then after, in here, it had a failed breakout, we can see, to it because it broke out, but it supported the 18 lows. The last two periods beforehand just consolidating effectively this green candle up, and now attempting to leave what's a down, sideways, barely starting to rise. And in a situation like this, as we can see, just like any of these other previous, there's spots where it's going to move into an uptrend. And the previous high is the next big test that it would have, breaking out above the resistance. Just to be levels like the 90 and 2/3 on the way. And I've stated, as far as journey destination, to me, I think long term that not only will this come back down to 32, but it's going to go significantly below, because, well, historically they say it's around half of that. And to me, that's not a big move, just falling in half, because 50% move in these markets, even though 64 to 32 is half, and that's half the space, I would think that this is going to go into single digits. But that's what I think, and that's what I'm playing. And as everyone, as a personal investor, based on your research analysis, what you're deciding to do, you're going to have to take action one way or another with, of course, your investments, your bets. I like to call it bets, because gambling to me is making like basically wagers on unknown outcomes. And unknown is anything that is not 0 or 100% likely, and there's a whole slew of things in life that are not that. So you're forced to gamble in this world. That's how I look at it. So might as well try to get the best advantage that you possibly can. Let's move on to Bitcoin. And definitely another gambling game if you're trading this and all that such. And gambling isn't like a bad negative word. Gambling just means taking a risk. And it can be for a positive venture, meaning let's just assume you're able to go to a casino who actually wants to give you good odds, where, okay, I'm going to shuffle a deck of cards. I'll give you 100 to 1 that you can guess the card, 6 of spades or whichever, and it's a legitimate shuffle. You got 1 in 52 of winning. If you play this 520 times, you should win 10, and your profits would be there. But that's just getting edges is another way of putting it. Advantage gambler, advantage player, yada, yada, yada. Okay. So within this weekly term on BTC, again, a bunch of little bit of lower lows, lower highs from the summer last year. First attempt from the decline within this weekly to really revert it. It's done well to neutralize the situation. The 2 weeks in here, around Christmas and the just the last bit of December, start of January, helped in neutralize it. But most certainly this green candle up in the hold is doing so. Further momentum higher would start to barely get this rise, and you can start talking about, hey, big uptrend, didn't correct too much through price, not too far to get to previous high, probably a good chance of weak resistance, and that will take it out, and that we would then next test further the close to 20k level. But of course, it's got a long ways to go for such on that. And if you take a look at this on the shorter term, say on the daily chart, we have this low that it had on January the 10th, nice little gate in here, and now we're looking to make what would be the low from here. Will it be a higher one? We'll see. It should be. It's not necessarily going to be guaranteed. It came back to the uptrend where it came from on this January 19th outside day, that being the high from January 8th. Now it's going deeper further, as we can see in here, that this little general area here around 8,000 low would be where it looks like it's going to be going down towards as it is. But when you have a situation when you can see we've been in a lot of these downtrends for the past couple years or so, and within it, just over the this point in here, we have been making these lower lows and attempts to get over it. This was that big intraday move that obviously failed. So this is the second one. This happened over just like not only a 24-hour period, but like even less than that. This is happening over a few weeks. So if this is a fail, and the fail would be this area here not holding, then this is pretty large, as we'd now be talking about, well, filling a lot of this lower empty space down in here. But of course, if it's not, gets above, then, all right. Excuse me again. I already mentioned that, the highs are 18, 20,000, and I got a lot more to cover, so let's move on to alts. But yeah, those are the key numbers or key areas. And the first alt we'll go over will be Theta, which having a significant down day today, I can call it significant, 5.2%, while within this rising 18, microscopically and noticeably getting above the 2 days highs on January 19th and 20th, and still above this one, so you can still draw uptrends in here. And what's going to be important is this 18 average of lows, I think. We're combining just in this real area of congestion in here. Higher lowing this significant low of about 1100, I think, is just very, very important. I've already mentioned how big this hold is at this low 1100 area. And it's been doing just that, but that's the key. It's doing that. And after doing that and having this breakout over the last few days, making an attempt to resume and revert this into a bull market. When doing this, if it fails, I see weakness at 1200. I'm expecting a quick, concise test to probably into the 900s, at least down to this area in here. But I've seen these reversals happen before. It comes in here, you got what it's doing. You're seeing now uptrends, higher lows, and you're going to have down days, red days here and there. And this could be just one of those down days in a new uptrend. And if it is, well, most likely you're going to see larger volatility situations, similar, maybe even larger in movement to this, but definitely concise as it breaks these key highs. And when we take a look at this on the shorter term time frame, we can see just this little bit in here, what I noticed from it, because we have all of these resistance hits like 3 or 4 times. You come up again. We're doing so here with these higher lows. So this is a real big attempt to get it going, to make a big move happen, which didn't happen. It comes down in here to around this time frame. And this is where the failure comes in. And it has, since this low, just hung on there. So there's definitely a lot of reason you can say that this has run out of steam. But in such, what happens on a steam move? Oh, another leg lower. So, okay, so the next key spot is 1200. And this, to me, that's I'm not going to say it's bullish, but it's got a lot more for me to say, okay, yep, failure on this move. Time to say we're going to 900 because, well, this is the must-hold area, and it makes sense where it would go, breaking, of course, where we are right here. Let's move on to Teslas next. And we'll use the daily chart. So there's the rally from right before Halloween last year, which topped week before Christmas, but really on the second week of December. And since then, a significant period of lower highs, lower lows, but just grinding its way lower. A 50% correction, which is a little unusual. However, it is as it is. As the 18 plays through, it resisted this area for a little bit, but most importantly, it held the January 16th rally. It then had another one 3 days ago. And there's a little bit of a red day, so like Theta's having a red day. Does this hold? Well, it did in this case. But I like how this is set up with this candle. The correctionary one, yesterday's green up day, and how where the low is, the high is. It's already 10:25 a.m., so it's barely past the halfway point of the day, or noticeably past, rather. So it's a good amount of time allotment as well for the period. So things look are pretty interesting that this thing could be poised and ready for a possible move. Now, for its short term on its single hour, this is a big level of resistance at 1687 that it managed to have. There's a lot of hits from, and when it finally was able to get above it, there was a spot here to break out, didn't do it. This one here obviously failed as well, but this one didn't. Consolidation here was successful. It supported for several periods in here, this area of resistance, and then one good leg higher. Several correctionary moves back to this point again. Now, what I like about just since the last this little bit in here, all of this from this timestamp, is we support these two periods, this little shorter term area where it came from. It's also doing it while making all of these higher lows. So still a lot of good productive signs I'm looking at, that this, not only do I not see momentum not fizzling or dying, I don't even see anything showing me that this is going into any type of neutrality situation or the band flattening out too much. Obviously, if this thing isn't able to get going really in the next couple hours, then yes, we'll be moving into like in here. But even on that situation, we go sideways and maybe nothing more, or in this case, like it was before, not much more. And this is basically not much right there. And breaking levels of resistance, big things. Okay, well, let's talk about that. So what's a big level right here? Well, there. So it broke it on this period. And in situations like this, if you got in at any of these times, well, if you got stopped out for these plays, I don't know what else to say, because you're still making higher highs and higher lows. If you're looking for clear, concise breakouts, all I got to say is when you had this period on January 23rd and breaking, well, definitely on this one here, it's close. Like when you get to that high at 1900, oh, is it enough where I want to buy because it's breaking out? I don't know. This one here, no, because when it was rolling at this morning at like 7, 8 o'clock, because it was still technically below this high. But maybe you think that, and maybe it is. I'm thinking, is it a good strategy? Just looking at this as this plays out, is this a buy right here? Question mark. Answer: I don't know. And then if it is, how would you play it from that point forward? Because you're seeing, oh, it looks like it's leaving this, and it looks like the movements are going to be much higher. And well, if that's the case, you buy it and it's already down. Well, why would you get stopped out? Where would be the best stops? Definitely, you got to think it could easily come back and hold this area here. So if you're stopping at above like 18 in this area, that might not be a good play. So understanding, okay, what game theory strategies can I use if I'm looking to trade, and then implementing them based on any way of experience of past results or anything you can do statistically to give you an edge. Well, that's obviously good to have. Alrighty, let's move on to fantasy football. We got the Superbowl between the Kansas City Chiefs against the San Francisco 49ers. And if you're familiar with DraftKings, they have a thing called the Millionaire Maker. $10 game where first place gets $1 million. I think second place is like only 100 or 200,000. And I've already talked a lot about this. And I was searching for my own video. And well, what I searched was NFL Showdown DraftKings How to Win Money Charts. And I can't even find my own video. Actually, this is mine here, which is 11 months ago. And this isn't the video I was thinking of. This is 37 minutes long, and I'm sure it's damn good, because what happened was a couple months before then, I really was getting into this. Only 218 views. And I'm sure it's a very good video. And I barely remember making it. But only because I searched, I'm like, oh, that's not the video I was looking for. The one I was looking for, I made a few months ago. And why make it again? Because it's exactly the video for this exact game. Big time. I won myself 15 tickets to play. So I got 15 shots at 1 million. Probably 10, as it would be explained in the video I talk about. So, yes, what I searched in my videos was, let me just scroll it like this. There we go. This is November 8th. Daily Fantasy Football Showdowns. If you search Money Charts Daily Fantasy Football Showdowns 21-minute video, this is the information that is going to be needed, as well as NFL Fantasy Football Showdowns from a statistical point of view, 34 minutes long. And then what I stated last year. All of these things that I talk about, all of the experience that I've learned from doing this, I am implementing within 10 of my 15 lineups, which is 10 of my 15 games. So for 10 games, I'll look to win $1 million. What are my chances? A lot better than any type of Lotto Max, or as the United States Powerball, as it's called, or 649 in Canada. Just like lotteries where you get 6 numbers or 7 numbers, you get them all right, you win. It's going to be hard, but easier than that. But I was just even looking at some other videos, like apparently Bitcoin Technical Analysis and NLC2 Fantasy Football Analysis is 2017. I got to presume NLC2 might only be 5 Satoshi. That's fantasy football as well, so... Silver Eagles Premiums and the Moon. That is September 26, 2015. Silver Charts, August the 30th. Silver Chart, new fantasy sports page coming. And that was interesting because I did do a new page, and man, did I ever learn a lot about consensus. Just different things. It came and went, and it was for different reasons. I actually technically did profit on it, albeit marginally, through advertising revenue, and actually people signing up with different sites, referral, stuff like that. Gambling with an Edge, Episode 8, Fantasy Sports through DraftKings and FanDuel, November 2nd, 2014. Channel update. No, so I didn't make any charts on the weekend of October 26, 2014. Silver Charts 2013, August the 11th. And Fantasy Football invite. That invite is done. Wow. AEP, Game Theory, 18 average band day trading, November 7th, 2012. So this is when I was making that 18 average band. This is a spreadsheet that I would have made. Pretty darn near cool. Of course, I even have, even July 11, you can see this is the old charts that I made back in the day. And this is when I would get like 1,703 views. And back then, that was like, maybe I'll look at these comments because I haven't read these comments probably in years. 28 thumbs up, 2 thumbs down. I'm probably going to get and see names that I haven't heard of in like a long time. Keep them coming, Endless. We need your insight into the markets. I had the name Endless Mountain at that time. You help me track things. Cheers from Mark. I think Mark, you might be, maybe he's watching this now, but that name rings a bell. I like the videos where you break out the long-term charts. Long-term charts that helps put things back into perspective rather than just thinking about the day-to-day. Question, do you feel that we will break through $50 this time around? No, I don't think we will then. 8 years ago. That is just so... Anyway, thank you for tuning in. Have yourself a great day. Bye-bye.